What's up, people? Welcome to a brand new and very special edition of Wrestle Update. I'm your host, Dylan Fox, as always. We are kicking off WrestleMania weekend for all of our wonderful fans on CageMatch.net, 5-Star Network, all over the world. Listen to in various countries, various types of wrestling fans. Want everybody out there to know, I hope you guys are having a lot of fun on WrestleMania weekend. And of course, not just me. I'm not going solo. I got to have my wonderful close friend who I love so much, and you love him too, Nello de Angelis here.
What up? It's WrestleMania week. Isn't it nice how football fans are like, oh, it's Super Bowl, and they get like 4 hours on a Sunday, but we get like pretty much from Monday to Monday. We get wrestling every day in a meaningful way, or at least normally you would hope so. This week, not as much, but yeah, aside from the monumental WWE ID tournament earlier this week, there hasn't. No. We're here to chat the first. We were just talking about it off the air, but you were saying that this felt like the first WrestleMania level event of the weekend, and I totally agree. Josh Barnett's Bloodsport XIII.
And I will admit that this is one of the least hyped I've been from one of these. But really, it's a sign of the whole weekend. I think started off. I mean, I haven't seen the ID tournament, to be fair, but I read a review on it that basically blasted it and said it was horrible. Basically, Swipe Right was the only good thing on that show, as we understand it. I'm still waiting to see. I will tune in, and I will talk about it on this show. If during an ID match or a title match or something like that, if an indie wrestler, I threw out Atticus Cogar to you, who was on that show, but if someone shoots in their match to try to get an ID contract, we will 100% cover it on this show. I think that's the only fair way to look at it. But until then, I don't know if I'm going to be into these ID title stuff. But there was a lot of wrestling this week. Japan's made a big presence. If you guys listen to my other show, The Eastern Lariat, you know things are in disarray in a lot of companies right now in Japan. Naito leaving New Japan coming up. Being just this shocking news that broke last week. And now you see these other companies try to make their way into America, especially Joshi companies. There's been multiple Joshi companies that have had a presence on this show, and I'll speak a little bit about them at the end. But obviously, the heart and soul of this week, in a lot of ways, is the collective. So many different shows coming up that are branded, and especially the show we're here to talk about today is the main feature, Bloodsport. It's always been a favorite of mine. I've said it before. There's pretty much nobody in indie wrestling or wrestling really anywhere that I respect more than Josh Barnett, to be honest, and his ideals for wrestling. I remember back to the very first show he did for Bloodsport. He actually was kind enough to message me about my review of it, and he says it was very reasonable. And I criticized his match, and he was completely – most times if you criticize a wrestler, they're not even wanting to hear it, pretty much. But he respected me enough for whatever reason, whatever background he was impressed by, or he just liked my writing or whatever. He took that criticism very, very well and professionally. So I really respect Barnett a lot. And on top of it, we all remember the moment where he jumped over the announce table to get at Jay White that time. We have to respect that, I would say.
Yes.
And like I said, this show was the least excited I've been about any of these Bloodsports. By the way, that show I talked about, that first one he did where he faced Minoru Suzuki. I have more on him later as well. But he faced Minoru Suzuki in the main event. You had Hideki Suzuki and Thatcher on that show. That was a fantastic show overall. Even though I didn't love the main event as much as some people.
Dude, Masashi Takeda versus Jonathan Gresham, sleeper match from that show.
Great match on that show. Absolutely. Yeah, that was a very strong match. That whole show just rocked, man.
Yep.
But I really was coming in this cold. A lot of it. And I talked to Nello off the air. I'll pull the curtain back a little bit. I had planned for us to do a lot of previews and have a lot of fun with this week and things like that. But last week, A lot had happened in my personal life. Prayers up still to Ken right now. My great grandpa in the hospital currently going through some treatments and stuff, but he's looking well. Things are looking good. I want to shout out my man Ken on here. But regardless, I was gonna have so much fun with this week, and then I looked at it and I was just like, man, we're a week from WrestleMania weekend starting, 10 days or whatever from WrestleMania proper. And there's nothing to talk about. Like, half of these shows felt like house shows that are out of canon and don't even matter. Outside of this, and I would say Spring Break, again, I mean, I don't know the quality of that show, but at least this year, it feels like Janela and whoever was involved in putting together the show at least put special effort to make it better than it's been the last couple of years to make it an event. And I think that's worthy of praise. But for the most part, there was nothing going on that I thought there was even anything to talk about. So then we head into this show. It came to us from the Pearl Theater at the Palms Casino. And, I mean, you're pretty close by to this area, Nello, this Las Vegas here.
I was going to go to the Collective, and then I don't know if I ever ranted about this on the pod, but
I'm pretty sure we talked about this before. Actually.
Yeah, they like announced the Collective in October, and then they literally posted like ticket info coming next week. They waited until right after Hammerstein, of course, to drop the ticket info, and then it was 3 days notice. Oh, hey, you have 3 days to come up with $1,200 for the Collective. Oh. Okay, cool. And it's like, if I just like had one pay period, I could have like suffered for like a little bit to like, get the ticket.
Yeah.
But and also I say that because I only sit front row. People may make fun of me for that, but there's nothing worse than being at a fucking wrestling show. And like, for instance, there's this guy at the Collective this year, and he's wearing like a 10-gallon fucking cowboy hat in the front row. Who wants to sit behind that? Nobody. And like, that's my whole thing is I never want to sit behind anyone. I just want to be at the front. I want to feel like I'm watching it through my own little screen, and I'm very happy to pay the extra money for it, right? Like, that's what I did at Collective LA. Right. That's what I do at every GCW show. Stuff like bigger, like, and I talk about this purely in terms of indie events, like, AEW, stuff like that, way different, way different.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I was really bummed. I definitely have FOMO, like during certain events, like, I had a friend Walter at the Stardom show, and even though it's totally a house show, he had a fucking blast. And I think that they did have a nice main event with Micah and Thekla. But I'm getting that FOMO. Definitely not during some of the stuff we'll talk about after Bloodsport. But during Bloodsport, that was the first real time where I was like, fuck, I wish I was there, because having been at a Bloodsport, I was there for the Ibushi one versus Bailey, which was awesome. An insane moment. Like, when they're all coming out and making their entrances at the start of the show and they're just playing that bolt thrower riff over and over, it is such an electric energy, and it is like maybe one of my fave live event auras, So
it's something totally unique in this like almost circus of indie wrestling that we have, and then you just have this Bloodsport show in the middle of it. I mean, you have shows. There's a show I saw that was all about, our big draw for this show is that there's topless women around and free tequila for all night. Then there's one that's like, we're all about pancakes and pile drivers and all of that stuff. There's wrestling drag shows on here right now. You get all of these counterculture corners of society locked in this wrestling event.
Tons of deathmatch stuff as well. Circle 6, 7, Rise Underground, a Grap House. I'm not sure if Grap House actually does deathmatch, but they're like a bar fight style, like no ring, hardcore style promotion. I believe one of the owners is maybe shout out Sandra Moon.
Shout out Sandra Moon. I saw that she's looking to retire soon too, so I hope everything's going good with her.
I just caught her versus Megan Bain, thankfully, which was awesome. I want to say it was against Megan Bain. Maybe it was Brooke Havoc. Fuck if I know. But it was a great match. She rules.
Short, we like Sandra a lot.
But like, that's the thing is, there's a lot. I would say right now your two streaming services, you either have High Spots for that Deadlock Pro, West Coast Pro sort of ticket package, or the Collective on Triller. But there are so many shows that are not being broadcast. It is crazy.
I know. Yeah, that's another weird part about this weekend. I remember when this all started, I'm about to throw something out. I'm about to go way into some deep cuts, as some people would know. No pun intended. But I think that if you remember this, your ears will like perk up. When this all started, remember Flow Slam? Right now, when that was a thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're going back, and I mean, this was a total failure of a concept as it came about. But when that came out, they were trying to have every possible indie company get onto the Flow Slam stuff, right? I even pitched a show for that myself, like at the time, which was a comedy show. It wasn't meant to be like a wrestling show or anything. No need to get into that, but it was fun. It could have been cool. They were trying to. They didn't want to put the effort they needed to into that. But back then, at least you had this kind of conglomerate where you could kind of be like, okay, this is where we're watching everything. Now, in 2025, things are so fragmented. And like you said, some shows, they're just not even going to air. Like, it's impossible to find some of these things. And like you said, some of the other ones are all on the like high spots and all that stuff.
I was literally watching Rise through Instagram stories. Because Jack Harrop and Iceman, the father and son deathmatch duo, had like their 10th fight, and they were just fighting in the middle of the strip outside.
Oh, that is kind of that's so much
fucking bleeding everywhere. I was like, God, this is awesome.
And that's another thing I think that we have seen is that they're making use of the Vegas like locale and theme for stuff.
I've seen someone, I think, posted about it on Reddit, Squared Circle, recently, but I totally agree with the sentiment. Vegas should be a destination for one of the big five every year because it is so good for, like, you can walk everywhere, everything's pretty centralized, very good for international travel. So I feel like you can always do a really fun Vegas weekend every year. I think that it's just very conducive to obviously live events.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's what they had in mind for that city as well. There, but yeah, the show we're going to talk about right now was Josh Barnett's Bloodsport number 13 here, the 13th annual.
Oh, sorry, real quick. Wanted to say one more thing about streaming.
Oh yeah,
very, very surprised and extremely disappointed. IWTV has no presence this weekend.
I was going to ask you about that because, we have Triller and High Spots, but then independentwrestling.tv, where are they?
So,
what happened?
What was it? 2021, I want to say, when it was like Florida, Tampa. They had their own collective style thing with ICW,
I remember.
Action, New South, all this shit. And it seems like the year after that, they kind of did another one. And then last year, they pretty much only did shows. Like, they didn't travel to Philly. They did shows in like Jersey out of the H2O Wrestling Center. And they just basically did a weekend there. It's an alternative streaming thing. So, I know that the H2O Wrestling Center, if I'm not mistaken, recently shut down. Actually, H2O shut down. So, but still, like, I really would have appreciated something from them. It's just very strange that independent wrestling TV has no presence come WrestleMania weekend, and it's not a good sign to me.
No, not at all. I definitely agree with that. I mean, and I really don't understand why. I mean, let's face it, last year, Dean was one of my favorite shows of that whole weekend from Action Wrestling on there. And like now they're just, I was so confused and bummed why that's like that, because they do serve a very important and valuable niche, I would say, the people behind it. And they really are the ultimate grassroots organization in wrestling, pretty much like IWTV. These guys, like I said, Dylan Hales, me and him were talking 10 years ago on PWO about stuff. Like, I've known that guy forever. And he just like went out. They built stuff through, especially like Scenic City Invitational stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
that they were able to do, and they
Daniel Makabe.
Yep.
Great wrestler.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, Makabe's another one. I mean, I was friends with that guy forever, and I mean, he hasn't wrestled this year.
Retired, right? He said he was retired, except unless Danielson wanted to do one.
Yep, that's right. And he had taken time off before. He had been sporadic the last couple of years, more than he was, the 5 years prior to that. But yeah, and he went out on the Scenic City, the SCI last year. But that's something they could have done. They could have made that a WrestleMania weekend event if that's, something that they wanted to do, just to have one show. Maybe they don't want to, a funding issue or something like that. But I totally agree with you. That was one of the things that really had my eyebrow raised. And I think that's another reason why maybe I was a little bummed this year. Because like I said, that Dean show last year was among my favorite shows of the whole year. And we don't really get anything from them this year. So it's a real shame. I hope everything can pull through, and maybe next year. Do we know where WrestleMania is next year?
New Orleans.
Okay, so that's another southern city. Maybe they'll be more apt to come there. Then hopefully.
I mean, and New Orleans, that's where Gunther and PCO was, right? That was that year.
Right. Yep,
yeah.
That's right.
So, we've already had a collective there, which is very interesting to already be going back to cities where we've already had collectives.
Time flies, man. Yep. I remember that match so well. That PCO run that whole weekend. But like you said, the collective still is in play here, and obviously GCW at the forefront of all of that. This show we're about to talk about was on the Triller side, not the High Spot side. Came to us from the Pearl Theater, Palms Casino, and you had Filthy Tom, Jimmy Smith on commentary here.
Who is Jimmy Smith? I'm very familiar with Filthy Tom. Love Filthy Tom. One of my favorite Can I share my favorite Filthy Tom moment, Dylan?
Please share that.
So, Figure 4 Weekly Christmas episode, maybe 2021, 2022, and I think it's 2021. Brian leaves for like a minute to go check on his kids or like puke or something. And then immediately, without missing a beat, Filthy Tom just starts singing Insane Clown Posse because Brian won't let him sing it while he's there. And so it's like Brian goes to puke and immediately Filthy Tom just goes, Santa Claus, suck my balls. And then he just goes through the whole song. And dude, like crying, laughing, tears. Adore Filthy Tom. Love him. So yeah, who's Jimmy Smith?
Well, first of all, I think we have to admit, I did say I respect nobody more than Josh Barnett. If the number two respector may be Filthy Tom, I would say in wrestling. Just for not necessarily that moment. That's not what I had on my bingo card, but just his whole vibe in general. Coming from the UFC world to wrestling and being such a true fan. Ever since he entered that UFC press conference dressed as Shockmaster and fell down, and a lot of people didn't get it, but it made me laugh a lot. I always knew this is my guy. Jimmy Smith, he was another UFC guy. He actually got signed to WWE. He commentated on Raw, and that lasted for a few months. For whatever reason, it didn't work out. They had that weird era of Raw where was Heyman still in charge? Was that when Heyman was running Raw? But they had like a revolving door of commentators.
There was the other guy too. What was his name?
Adnan Virk from MLB. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they brought the guy in from baseball to commentate it. I mean, he really struggled. Smith was pretty good, but in WWE, it's always so WWEized that not everybody's a great fit for it. I will say I did think he had some ups and downs on this show as a commentator, Smith himself. And if you're not familiar with his work on Raw, but I mean, that was a coup for Barnett to get him because of his work in the UFC as well as Raw. So he's a great crossover person. And I know that he took it serious, but like I said, I'll get to him in a little bit. But,
thank you.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, just letting everybody know he was a Raw commentator before. It didn't last long. That was UFC a lot. So yeah, where the collective comes in, they come in. The no ropes ring is there. The crowd looked really good here. They don't have a number on Cage Match, but it seems like this was probably one of the better attended shows.
This was a near sellout because, I mean, I looked at tickets and there was very scattered single seats around the arena. It looked like. Yeah,
it was like as popular as Mayday Parade in Nashville right now, which I'm having trouble getting tickets to at the moment. Another sellout.
Mayday Parade, if you are listening to this, please give Dylan guest list. Please.
Please, we need that. We need the Mayday Parade Dylan support squad heavily in there.
They like DM you. They're like, hey, we just wanted to say that we philosophically and fundamentally disagree with your thoughts on Butterbean and Minoru Suzuki. So at this time, we cannot offer you guest list.
Derek said is a huge Minoru Suzuki fan. 100% think is legit there. Well, I mean, and look at, I mean, the alternative rock world and wrestling has always gone hand in hand. Like one of my favorite bands, Lucretia, is always at freaking wrestling shows in California and stuff where they're performing in there. Mikey Way from My Chemical Romance is a huge indie fan, like of wrestling and Japanese wrestling and stuff. He was at like every PWG show. I read a thing on once. Yeah. So like I said, definitely buying it. If Mayday is listening, please, any one of the members of the band, please let me know on that. I will 100%. You don't have to do anything. Just let me know for my heart's sake, overall. But yeah, so this was a really good house for Bloodsport, as you would expect. This is one of the marquee events, I would say, every year. And you could tell that everything in the venue looks really good. And this is something I've noticed. When we talk about things at the end, the venues they've had and the production values have been higher than average, I would say, for WrestleMania weekend shows all throughout. So this looks really good for sure. They come out, everybody coming in, like you said. Everybody comes out to the ring. Karrion Kross, of all people, got on the mic to talk, and he was talking about how great Barnett was and how this is real wrestling and all that stuff. Like this was his true home. I think the one thing too that had a lot of people kind of downing this show going into it was the amount of WWE talent on the show.
I want to get this out of the way because this was my big problem. Yeah. I am a huge Lou Nixon fan, huge David Madsmonishvili fan after the last show. Both of them
Me too. Bumped. Yeah, he was awesome. Yeah.
Both of them got bumped, and those are both guys that can, like, here's the thing. Bloodsport has very obviously become probably the largest indie platform for WrestleMania weekend at this point in terms of visibility. Like you have Nick Khan and Triple H backstage last year, right? Like you're not going to get more important eyes on a match than that in realistic terms, whether how you feel about the WWE or not.
Right.
That said, to have 7 out of 10 matches on the card feature WWE wrestlers, to have 6 out of 7 of them go over against people who a lot of them probably should not have gone over in realistically speaking. And like the fact too that Bloodsport is not getting high profile WWE talent, with the exception of the NXT stars, because Charlie Dempsey is probably the most featured WWE star that's on this show. Cross, Dunn, Natty, Shayna, none of them are booked on their shows. So that's what really upsets me, is that WWE does not book them or give them any platform, but they're on these insane, massive guaranteed contracts. So then come around Mania weekend when, we haven't gotten to do shit all year. Let's do this. Well, now you're taking jobs from Lou Nixon and David Madsmonishvili. And to me, that really bugged me out and rubbed me the wrong way. Mm-hmm. But that said, I thought this was one of the better Bloodsport shows, so I just wanted to get that out of the way right now. Like, that was my main gripe going in. And I do feel like,
me too.
The way after Barnett paints it is, this is a place where everyone can come from all around. That's awesome, but I would like to see there be a balance of people and not 7 out of 10 matches on the show feature people from the largest promotion that does not need this platform. Like, what I would much rather see is a WWE, like, actual Bloodsport event with Barnett, in terms of like, hey, we're going to do like an actual co-branded one, and then the one during the collective is all independent talent. Something like that.
That's a great idea.
Blend or balance, because then it's like, the WWE one, WWE can actually promote that, because they don't do any promotion for this shit on their TV. It's like, yeah, you have 7 WWE people, but WWE's not doing any promotion for this whatsoever. And yeah, I really wish that there was parity. I really wish that the people who got bumped did not, because like, no disrespect to, actually full disrespect to Pete Dunne. But like I would have so much rather have seen Lou Nixon versus Timothy Thatcher. That's all I was thinking the whole time, is that would have been so fucking cool. And like David Madsmonishvili versus Royce Isaacs. Or honestly, I would have kicked out Royce Isaacs and put Madsmonishvili versus Tavion Heights. That's actually sick.
Yeah, like we could keep WWE guys if they're Tavion Heights. But I will say the performance from the WWE guys, because I totally agree with you. There's a lot of people that were talking bad about this show for the exact same reason that you are. I 100% agree. I would have loved to see Madsmonishvili here to do something, because I thought he was awesome when we saw him last. Lou Nixon, definitely worthy of a spot. But you could see this show, it was also a business way about it. Whether it was the WWE guys, like 7 of 10 for them, but even the top 2 matches had 2 stars from New Japan, like the top company in Japan. Before the show we were talking about with Hideki and Takeda, those were big Japan guys, Freedom guys, indie dudes in Japan that they really dug deep to get in. Now they're all New Japan guys that they bring in from Japan. You don't get the indie shooters from that legion anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you had one indie match when you start off the show with Hirsch and Blade that's like legit 2 independent talents. The closest you really get is Shinya Aoki. I mean, DDT is by no means like a small company in Japan, but when you compare them to the rest of the other companies represented on this show, they're probably the smallest one, and Aoki is also probably the most legit shooter guy on the show.
Yes, so, he could beat every single other person on this show.
When he came out, I got like 3 texts from 3 different people like, hey, can you please explain this old Japanese guy who came out in these fucking old man glasses to me? Like
literally one of the greatest fighters of all time.
I'm like, dude, he won his retirement fight by sub. You don't understand how good this guy is. Like, he's amazing. So, yeah. But we'll get to it.
The one thing I hope is that they managed to maintain, like, and obviously the WWE guys going over is a sign that they didn't, but I hope that they were able to maintain some autonomy in terms of booking the show and the matches they put together. With Barnett and whoever else is involved with this. Obviously the collective GCW guys are always doing stuff there. But I hope that they were able to put the matches they wanted to together, even with the star power that they had on the show. And I will say what you want about them being from WWE. I would say pretty much everybody like gave their best effort here, like that they did, like the WWE people. Like they didn't come here to just like, oh, we're at an indie show, we're gonna slack off. They did try, and I will give them that overall at least. So yeah, they did the opening. Cross was on the mic. They start off with Layla Hirsch versus Jordan Blade. Hirsch was an AEW talent until very recently. That she's left there and she's applying her trade on the indies again. And I've seen a little bit of Blade before, but she's definitely an indie talent. She has a very amateur style look to her. Not like amateur in a bad way, but like amateur wrestling.
Yes.
Inspired.
Shoot style as well. It's like a lot of stuff that I've seen from her. Do you remember the Paradigm Pro Wrestling Heavy Hitters stuff?
Yeah.
When they did like their own little UWFI series. She was one of the main stars of that. So that's like where I remember her doing that shoot style from.
And it really set the tone for the show. They started off with some technical stuff there, again, amateur style stuff to kind of give Blade a little shine, because I think Hirsch was definitely more known of the two. But they started off with that stuff, and then eventually Hirsch overpowered her, turned things into a German suplex. They tried to have a strike battle, and again, Hirsch overpowered her and got the mount, started firing off lefts and rights, and ref stopped the match here. Very short match, 3.5 minutes, not available for rating on Cage Match, but what did you think of it?
I liked it. I was like, we've talked about this before in our last Bloodsport review, but the number one thing that matters to me on these shows is the stiffness of the striking. I'm not a sadist. I'm not asking for Nanai Takahashi to nail fucking Series tooth out of her mouth here. Marigold supremacy.
She should have been on this show before. Right? Nanai Takahashi.
Imagine Natty versus Nanai.
Yes.
Fucking sick. But they have really good strikes. They laid in the slaps, the open palm strikes. So I like that stuff. That impressed me because more than anything, it keeps me immersed. And that is what I think is more important than anything on these shows, is to feel immersed in these shoot style matches. Because the second that immersion's broken, that's when it starts to feel like, okay, we're cosplaying battle arts, right?
Yeah, and I hate that. Yeah, like I said, so
because it feels bad. It feels really bad. But you know, I didn't get that too much on this show at all. I gave this one a 3. Thought it was a solid opener. Like you said, Blade's technical style with Hirsch's wrestling, some nice striking as well in the middle ground.
I like the striking.
Solid opener.
Totally agree with your opinion on that, and also your overall philosophy on these shows. I think nothing kills, and this is a problem I had with the match later on. Like, nothing really kills these kind of matches for me more than when somebody throws some weak stuff here. And it's like, come on, this is supposed to be real. Like, you know, even realer than real. I mean, the kayfabe world of wrestling. And like you said, then it just comes like, okay, we're cosplaying this other thing that was great, but not as good. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of that on this show, I will say. Do you have any thoughts on the opening segment where everybody came out too?
No, I mean, like I said,
cool.
It's one of the coolest live event energies, really. I fuck with it super hard. And it's just a very cool presentation. I think that it very much gives it a gladiatorial feel.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it.
I wonder why Cross was the one they picked to go on the mic to start, because he wasn't even in the main match. You would have thought it would have been like, you know, well, I mean, you're not going to put Shayna on the mic probably. But give Zach the mic, at least. No, give Konami the mic. Let her cut a promo to fire everyone up. Or Gabe. I mean, he cut it at the end of the show, kind of, I guess. They didn't want to double up on him. But Cross, I mean, he cut a fiery promo. He's just like, you know. He'd said something like, you know, get those fucking chins tucked in, because it's about to be Bloodsport. So then we got to the hero of independent wrestling everywhere, even though she's actually a part of a major company in reality. Micah. She took on NXT's Carmen Petrovic here, and Micah came out, you know, just walked to the ring normal. I think that she's really looked good. She's like got herself in good shape heading into this WrestleMania show. You know, her hair is straightened out again. She's getting herself into a good vibe right now, and she's proven to be one of the main people. Stardom has a huge show at the end of the month, by the way, their biggest show of the year. And she's facing Chihiro Hashimoto for the Sendai Girls title on there. So you could tell between this WrestleMania weekend excursion and her match against Seahash, she's really getting into her best self. And Micah's always been a very good wrestler. Petrovic, she's somebody that has been on these shows before.
Is she a legit black belt?
She is a karateka. Okay. You know, I don't know if she has a black belt, but I do know that she is a karate practitioner.
Yeah, because she came out in a gi and a black belt. So
yeah, so maybe she is. You know, but I knew that she does have a background legit. Let's see here. She said she is a former national champion in karate as well. For Canada. So she is pretty legit, to be honest. She's a 3rd degree black belt. There you go. That is so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, the Canadian. Although I think that she's actually from Bosnia. But she's a Bosnian Canadian, just like Alex Lee, pretty much. So she came in here. Micah, obviously, she also has a background as well. You know, and it's well known that one of the things I love about Bloodsport is the same thing that I love, and I really think Josh has the same feeling as me on this. I miss the old days of UFC where it used to be styles make all the fights. They would have a karate player and then a judo player like this one. There would be a boxer and then a wrestling specialist, and they'd have a wushu practitioner, which is my martial arts that I train in. They had all these different styles. And
are we talking about Art Jimerson right now?
Yes.
Just coming out with the single box.
Yes. That was from UFC 1, the very first. They really didn't know. Maybe a few steps ahead of that, I would say. And then remember, Shamrock won with the gi choke on Hoist at the end of that. And then Hoist tried to be like, no, I didn't tap out. And then Shamrock's like, yes, you did. And he's like, okay, I did. UFC 1, that was a trip. that show, let me tell you. But I miss that stuff, and they don't do that in UFC anymore. Everything's always freaking BJJ all the time. And now I like that they have different styles.
Hey, shout out to the fighting nerds. Also, should we cover UFC? I watch every big event, so I'm always down to cover UFC too. If there is any interest in our audience for UFC, I would always be happy to cover a numbered pay-per-view.
If not, we'll do it for Easter Lariat. We'll put it on there because Cage Match doesn't actually have UFC shows on their database, but we can. But I run the Patreon and I can do whatever I want on Easter Lariat, so we can cover those shows too.
Sweet.
Yeah, my girl Jay Lee. Whenever there's a big fight for her, I'm there for it for sure. But yeah, I do miss the style here. So we had a judo practitioner and a karate practitioner. And very accomplished in both cases, especially Petrovic. So they started
I like that they hyped Micah's judo. I did not really know that as much. Yes, in her offense, but it's not something that I think about, because to me she's a wrestler. I'm not like, oh, she's a judo practitioner. So I like that they emphasized that before, set the stage really well.
Another thing, have you noticed on AEW recently? Whenever Don Callis goes on commentary, he starts going on about judo chops, and Taz got really annoyed at him for that. And it's something I noticed too. I remember me and Dr. Jonathan Foy, we did a retrospective on Keiji Muto's career, and during those legendary Sting matches in NWA, they kept going on and calling his chops judo chops. And I was like, no, that's not how judo. No, it's not a striking discipline. What are you talking about? There are no judo chops. And Taz said the same thing to Don Callis, and it made me laugh very much. What the hell are judo chops? That makes no fucking sense. But yeah, so she came in. I'm pretty sure, Petrovic, she's a regular on NXT, and Micah is one of the main players of Stardom. She was the champion last year, won the tournament, blah, blah, blah. But, Petrovic is always on the show. But I know that she had probably her most famous matches was a month or so ago against Stephanie Vaquer for the North American title that they had. Funny enough, she lost in 2 minutes on Tuesday to Thea Hale. There. So they did not protect her. To make your point, they are not hyping Bloodsport up on their shows. So I wish that they would do that a little bit more. But I love your idea of a WWE full show promoted as this.
Because what would be great for that too is you have every WWE talent pair off against an international or independent talent. So that way those people get a legit platform like that, and you can actually promote the show, like you said.
Yeah, 100% agree. Petrovic, her last appearance in Bloodsport was when she beat Sumi Sakai in the Bloodsport in November, which I'm pretty sure we talked about as well when that happened. So Micah, she came in, she came in for a quick takedown, but Carmen countered with some quick kicks to the legs. Micah finally got her down to the ground, used a big Corella lift style slam. Petrovic ended up trying to grab a rear naked choke, but it kind of turned into more like a shin lock, a wrestling style shin lock. She ended up backing up, hitting a big kick, and Micah ended up countering that into a cross arm bar. Carmen threw some more kicks. Micah grabbed her leg and then got her own rear naked choke, which was much more legit looking. And then Carmen got the tap out here. So Micah, the one person who defended, stood on business against WWE here. What'd you think of this match?
I liked it. Another 3-star match. Some really nice throws by Micah. The one thing, like, Carmen had good kicks. It looked like she was kind of holding back at first, and then she laid him in a little more. I would have liked to see her hit just a little bit harder. Man, Micah always reminds me of Ishii, solely for the reason that she is always taped up. Yeah. Part of her is always taped up. I'm always like, girl, what's going on? What's going on in the elbow today? Let's get some healing going on. But no, I liked this again. Like, this is the second time I've ever seen Carmen Petrovich wrestle, and I thought she looked more impressive here than she did against Sumi Sakai. I was happy that Micah got the win, and the finish looked great. I think the finish is very, very important for these, right? Because we kind of saw it with the Natty and Miyu finish, that they need to be believable, and they need to not sort of, I'm not sure if demean is the appropriate word here, but to maybe expose or make the other opponent look a little bit too weak.
Yeah. No, I totally get it.
And that's also too, like, something for Bloodsport that you have to keep in mind when you go into these shows is that it's, again, very battle arts, very UWFI rings in terms of like a move like on Defy, right, that we saw before, like a German suplex, is going to be about 100 times more devastating on a Bloodsport show than any other show. Like, the kayfabe dynamics of the actual moves themselves are very different to where a single suplex can end a match, a single PK can end a match. A submission move is going to be held for about a fraction of the time it normally would, right? So you do have to suspend disbelief even more for these shows. But that said, it's largely on the performers again in terms of their ability to immerse you.
Great point, and that's another reason why I love this next match so much on here. Chuck Dempsey versus Shinya Aoki here. And Aoki, like we mentioned earlier, one of the most accomplished MMA fighters of all time. One of the greats in Japanese MMA.
Dude, they said that he grappled with Fedor, which is insane to me.
What a size difference that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that he did that is nuts. And it's freaking cool. It's Fedor. If you grapple with him, that's automatically super badass. Yeah.
So for the uninitiated, it's basically like if Shinya grappled Braun Strowman. Dude, Fedor is a beast. He's a heavyweight beast.
Yeah, he's like the Terminator, and just as an MMA fighter. Another all-time great that era. But yeah, they kind of mentioned that here too, because that was one of the first things Jimmy Smith said on this when this match started. He came out and Smith was like, "Man, how is he going to handle this? Dempsey's got definitely a size advantage, and Charlie Dempsey is definitely not the size of Fedor. I will say that. But still, even this match, they mentioned that as a talking point. A ton of this was grappling, and I loved, especially me, I loved so much that they ended up working their way into Aoki turning things into a figure four leg lock style, which is totally up his alley with his pro wrestling acumen in DDT, that he would do that. They ended up going in there. The crowd was giving Dempsey some heat here too. They were rallying behind Aoki. I guess they recognized his legend in MMA and fighting. They ended up getting together with another like double leg bar, and Dempsey started to throw some strikes for the first time. And we actually even saw a little bit of like a pro wrestling style, like Dempsey would fire up and then Aoki would fire up. It would kind of be like their version of a yay and boo strike battle here. In the end, though, Dempsey ended up firing up. They worked this really hard, and I loved how they worked this finish because he, like you said, in a traditional pro wrestling sense, he would have just hit the regal plex, and it would have been a near fall, and it would have been fine. They would have just moved on. Here, you saw that Aoki really struggled here to stop this move, and they were able to work it in a way to when he finally hit the regal plex, first of all, it ended the match like KO finish from the ref, and he had to earn it. And I thought that was so important on these shows to make things feel earned. And in my opinion, what should happen in all of wrestling, but doesn't as much anymore. But still, he made it feel earned, and I thought it was an awesome finish and a wonderful match here.
Yeah, this was my match of the show, 4.25 from me. 8.5. I would give it, I would honestly go fucking 9 on cage match for this. Just bump it up. This is the match of the show. Really fucking incredible technical mat work and grappling throughout. What I really appreciated is that it seemed like anytime Dempsey would catch Aoki would almost give him like a little bit of grace to figure something out. And then the second Aoki was over it, he would just immediately transition out and put Dempsey into something hellish.
Yeah.
Really loved how they did set up a 3-act structure in a 9-minute match with the teasing of the suplex. And that's the thing to me, right, is that Aoki, from the first time that Dempsey tried, really, like, that was the most defensive he was in the match, because he would very much go into that sort of flow state with the grappling. But each time, the first 2 times that Dempsey tried to suplex Aoki, he was, tucking the legs, everything that he could do to avoid it. So once Dempsey hit that suplex, finally, the Regalplex, right?
Yeah.
And it immediately ended. I was kind of taken aback, and then it clicked, and I was like, Aoki really did not want to take that fucking suplex, and now it makes sense why. And then the size difference comes back into play, the weight difference, strength, everything. And just, damn, I love this match. It's my favorite match of Mania weekend so far.
That's what I thought too. Yeah.
I'm not going to count Dynamite just because it's a regular weekly TV show, but this, I think, is definitely the best match so far. Highly recommend checking this one out. Really, like, the fact that we got Shinya Aoki on Bloodsport and it was against Dempsey. Dempsey, I think, is the best WWE talents on these shows. He's just a really cool guy in that he seems to get to do a lot of cool shit. Like, I'm one of the people who really appreciated his match against Nakajima. I thought that was an awesome match. I hope that I would love to see Dempsey go do some DDT work, like in a KOD, or the what is it? The
KOD.
The Dio Pre. That's what I was thinking.
Oh yeah. Dio Grand Prix. Yeah.
Yep. That's what I was thinking of. But yeah, like, I think Dempsey works so well with international talents. And I shouldn't say international talents maybe so much as just veterans that aren't NXT people. Like, Dempsey is at another level already, and a lot of the time I feel like he just does not have the dance partner to really flex his chops with.
Yeah, totally agree. I think he's done a great job wherever he showed up, and he's a great person to call upon for these outsider type of shows. And he's kind of one of the first people to do that with the All Japan stuff, like you said with Nakajima. So I look forward to seeing more for him. Hopefully one day he can get a push in his own company. We'll see how that goes. We could
say that for everyone on this show from WWE.
Yeah, one day. We might be waiting for some time with that one. So next match was Karrion Kross versus JR Kratos. And I got to say, like, the crowd was really into Kross here. Like, they definitely made him feel like a big star.
Hometown hero. He's a Sin City guy.
That's right. Absolutely true on that end. Even trained there, has gone through all the world of wrestling. Lucha Underground, AAA, TNA, NXT, now WWE. Like, his main role in WWE right now is like just to stand around at catering and then walk up to people backstage and cut promos on them to stir shit. He rarely ever actually wrestles, although he did this past week with AJ. So that's something. Good warm up for here. So he came out with the karate gi, and JR ended up grabbing that gi and trying to pull it over his head. And so he finally got out of that. That led to a good crowd pop. When he finally,
I thought that was funny was because Kratos came out in his gi as well, and the first thing he does is take off his fucking top. Yeah. And then when Kross kept his on, I was literally like, Kratos is gonna fuck with him.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened too. It was a very smart spot there. They went with some striking stuff here, some good knees, They threw some chest slaps, and JR was trying to use his power here on him, and Smith was saying like, he's like, wow, across the WWE, he really is not used to getting thrown around like this, but Kratos, he's just a different level of power. He had a power bomb at one point. Cross got back and fired up, hit a big headbutt, started throwing Kratos around. Again, that got a good crowd pop. And in the end, Cross once again locked in the rear naked choke, got the tap, and got the win here. What'd you think of this?
Gave this one a 2.5. That's not necessarily a bad thing to me. That is perfectly middle of the line, 5 out of 10. Nothing necessarily bad, nothing necessarily great. Did what it needed to do. Nothing really stood out. Baseline of immersion. This was a match that I wasn't necessarily interested in outside of just maybe the visual of, I think Kratos is just a very, to put it scientifically, impressive specimen to look at. And he's the guy, he's like Barnett's training bud, right? So he always gets on these shows. Same with Isaacs, it seems like. But yeah, I don't think that this really stood out. Happy for Cross to get his moment, I suppose. And yeah. What about you? What do you think?
I thought it was, again, 5 out of 10 seems right. This has a 5.28 rating on Cage Match right now, which seems fair. I think the rating for Dempsey and Aoki is a little low, 7.53. I'm with you. It's more closer to 9 level to me than 7.5.
And here's the thing. I go high on these because we don't have promotions like this anymore for the most part.
Yep,
outside of, what is the Abe Nomura promotion, like Kakuto Tenkan or something?
Yeah.
I just butchered the fuck out of that. I'm so sorry.
No, that show that they did was the show of the year, in my opinion. Like, that was the
one that just happened.
Yeah, that was the best version of that, in my opinion. And I'm somebody that's hard on those shows compared to a lot of people, because Battle Arts is my favorite company of all time. So when you come onto a show saying you're the grappling detectives and you're running a show like that, with Nomura and Abe doing the Kakuto Tatedan.
Oh, close.
Yeah, you did good. I just said it faster, pretty much. But no, when you're doing that, I hold you to that standard. Like, you are specifically saying this is a continuation of Battle Arts. So that's the standard I'm holding. This was the first of the 3, in my opinion, that truly captured the spirit of the old school Battle Arts, in my opinion.
Yes.
Takeda and Sato was like a match of the year level match, in my opinion, and the main event wasn't that far off. I'm not as into Abe's antics on these shows specifically. If it's on a regular show, I'm totally cool with it. If it's on these shows, I want to see wrestling. And I saw Sato and Hara deliver world-class level stuff, and then the astronauts brought in crowd brawling, which, again, can be okay in a certain context, but just not in Battle Arts. But besides that, though, it was a fantastic match, even still. Both of those matches are like in my top 10 match of the year overall right now. And you got the legend Yuki Ishikawa on there, Toba, longtime DDT favorite, Super Tiger, our OG Battle Arts guy, Maguchi was great, Ishikawa like beating the hell out of Satsuki Nagawa was awesome to open. Everything about it was great. Highly recommend that show.
I just watched Alexander Otsuka versus Daisuke Ikeda from '97. Banger.
Absolutely, Otsuka is one of my favorite guys.
So good.
Yeah, him and like Carl Malenko were like my guys in Battle Arts. Carl Greco. Otsuka and Greco.
If you're listening and you have not checked out Battle Arts, check out Battle Arts. The match that I just discussed is from the show Be My Baby, which is not a joke. That's the name of the show.
That's right. Double J's influence.
And then what else? Glate, Ledette, but that's not really a big thing. Do you prefer the Bloodsport style of it's a very sudden finish out of nowhere, or would you rather see the points adopted, like the UWF style ring style scoring system adopted into Barnett's Bloodsport?
I would like to see the points adopted, but that's only because I was a fan of those. I think if you're looking at it without that in mind that would be a cool tribute, I could see why they just dodged that. It's just simpler just to have it be a regular finish, in my opinion. But I love the points. I thought that was cool as fuck. Like when I was first watching those shows.
Yeah. No, because I feel like for the later matches, like a Sabre Jr., Gresham, Gabe Kidd, Barnett, you could really extend those matches with the point systems.
And I thought it added more drama once you see like that point total climbing slowly down.
Yes,
like,
yes.
So a big fan of the point system. Always annoyed me when when they did Minoru Suzuki and Sakuraba, and they said it was a UWF style match, and they didn't use the points. That really annoyed me a lot. I was like, it's not a UWFI style match. Like, it's not that it doesn't have the points. Stop lying. But next on the show, we saw Tank Abbott looking so different than I remember
If
him.
you showed me a picture of him and said, who is this? And I had 30
Never
guesses,
would have said it was
Tank
him.
Abbott would not have been in not even number 30.
I wouldn't have guessed with 100 guesses.
He looks like he sells weed in the best way possible.
I kind of thought, yeah, I mean, he's kind of like his look, like his with the old guy glasses and the mustache, feels like somebody from the 1800s. But then his attire he came out with was like somebody from Seattle. Right now, just two totally different looks, and none of them what I would ascribe to Tank Abbott. So he came out, Don Fry came out, and they're like, hey, these guys were great UFC fighters. And that was it. Like they just came out, they didn't really do anything. But cool. Like nothing wrong with that. Love seeing these two legends come in. So into that. And who better to follow up those guys than Butch? Pete Dunne comes out, and Jimmy Smith made this whole big spiel about, Dunne, he's not going to be successful in Bloodsport. You can't do small joint manipulation. That's highly illegal here. He took on Timothy Thatcher, the Thatch Man, like a legend in the Bloodsport game and a legend in my heart. They ended up going in there. Dunne started right away to go after the arm. Thatcher countered and did some of his techniques. He twisted him into a single leg crab at one point. He tried to grab his ankle. They went back and forth with double leg binds. And Thatcher switched it up, went after his arm to kind of get him back. They ended up going into a strike battle with some, Dunne was firing up some kicks. They went back and forth. And then Dunne did go after the fingers, of course, after all of this rigmarole about how illegal it was. The ref was like, hey, don't do that. And he just kind of did it anyway. But in the end, he locked him in the cross arm bar for the win. What'd you think?
Just like you were saying about Abe's antics on the other show, I was feeling the same exact way about Dunne's on this show, and he wound up doing them. I'm admittedly, I've never been a Pete Dunne person. I am allergic to the work of Peter Dutton. He's just not for me. That's not against him or anything like that.
That's not the way.
Just not for me. That said, I'm a big Timothy Thatcher guy. It was really weird to me because they make these records important. They show the people's records when they come out, and all the WWE people are 0-0, and they're facing people with, like, Thatcher was the only guy to have beaten Barnett in Bloodsport before this. And then you have Pete Dunne put him out. Like, that stuff, I didn't care for this match because of that. This was a stretch to me, no pun intended. I'd give this one like 2 3/4, just mostly because of Thatcher's work. But yeah, the Pete Dunne element just really reduced this one for me.
Which, to be fair, you are right that I didn't mention the records. They did make sure to hype that up. But that's a lie about Cross, because he's been on Bloodsport multiple times before. And they said he was 0-0. He was at the very first Bloodsport. He was at that show, the one that I loved so much.
They showed clips of him fighting Nick Gage from
Bloodsport. Yeah, how is he 0-0 in that end?
It's like the Hulk Hogan thing. He's like, Hulk Hogan, he's like, carrying Cross as a 10-inch stick. Killer Cross is a 10-inch stick, but carrying Cross does not. So, yeah.
They just
Sorry,
didn't
do
want
you
to.
know that reference?
Yes.
I feel like, okay, cool. I was about to say, if you
That
don't
was
know
in his
that
court
reference,
case. Yeah.
yeah, that probably sounds so fucking weird, what I just said. So I wanted to clarify that.
It was weird, but also based in reality. So we let it slide. But yes, he did actually say that in court to testify to that. So Hogan. What if Hogan did a Bloodsport?
Oh, I'd love it. Put him against Barnett and just let Barnett shoot on him.
Just let him shoot for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cross in reality, I'll give you the real statistics here since GCW doesn't want to do that. He beat Nick Gage and lost to Davey Boy Smith Jr. in the past.
That Davey Boy match, good. I remember that.
Yeah, that whole show was just so good, dude. That first Barnett Bloodsport was so great. But yeah, Dunn and Thatcher, I liked it a little bit better than you. I thought Thatcher had some great intensity. I totally get what you're saying about Dunn. He's such a weird wrestler to me in that there's parts to him that I like actually, but then there's other parts of him that I find insufferable at the same time. So he's not all bad or all good. He's like half great and half horrible to me. So I always have a weird time with his matches, but I thought Thatcher brought the most out of him in terms of making this feel kind of intense. The crowd was not on Dunn's side at all. Like, they gave Cross a great welcome. They gave Natty some, a great response, but Dunn, he wasn't that over, and they kind of razzed him a little bit. But I do think that this was a little bit long. It could have been a little bit better. I give it about a 6 out of 10, 3-star type of deal for me. So a little bit better, maybe 3.25 even. I thought Thatcher looked really good here. His strikes looked much more legit than like when Dunn was trying to do the kicks and stuff. I think his kicks are really weak, actually. I think that he could have dropped those and focused more on the forearms and elbows and stuff like that. And the finger stuff is not that appealing to me. I thought that the thing is, that's something that was cool when he first did it. I probably saw that. I thought, oh, that's really cool.
And he didn't even do the thing where you silence the crowd or whatever. And this is like what makes the spot. And then when you wrench the fingers, you slap your arms down against your side, right, as hard as you can, and you make that pop noise from it.
Yeah.
And he didn't even do that. And that's like what makes the fucking spot. So I digress.
Yeah, and to me, it's lost its luster. So they shook hands after the match, so there is that. So now we get the Bloodsport run of Natty Neidhart. Now this is something that needs to come in, that we need to talk about. What was up with the theme music on this show? How did they get the rights to some of this stuff? Because they had
yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I don't think it matters.
It just doesn't matter.
Because like a lot of the indie talent just come out to their music anyway, and it seemed like some of the WWE talent just got to change their themes. And I was hoping that all of them would, because I felt like Carmen's music was different too, if I'm not mistaken, because hers had like singing and vocals and all this stuff. And I was like, this feels like really extra for an NXT theme. But I could be wrong because I've never seen her on NXT. But yeah, Natty coming out to join in the name was sick.
Don't you dare disrespect the great work of Def Rebel, universally beloved music producer of WWE.
But I think them coming out to different music is definitely what makes this as well, because it brings such a different aura. I don't want to hear Natty come out to her pop music. Have her come out to Rage Against the Machine. That's fucking sick. This is her cool mom moment. Let her shine. And
she ditched everything about her WWE character, and all of the Heart Foundation stuff. There was no pink on here. She came out in this black
Suplex Apparel sponsored athlete.
That's true. Jeff Cobb. Yes, somewhere very happy to see this.
Okay, I am a very big person into gear, right? I always love to look at the gear, admire it. I got Tokyo Joshi on right now. You got Suzume, one of my favorite in-ring attire. She looks like a Jet Set Radio character.
True.
But that said, why did Natty have custom suplex tights that had pockets on the back? She had pockets on her butt. And
what are you going to put in those?
I don't know. I couldn't for the life of me figure out why she had pockets on these. And it was really bothering me. I was like, why do you have – I've never seen pockets on a singlet before.
What about a UFC? Like, have they never done that in UFC? Like pockets?
No, like imagine cargo shorts.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
on fucking like maybe Bryce Mitchell of all people.
Yeah.
That scumbag. But fucking
he'd be in shorts. Sure.
Yeah, dude, jorts. That'd be hella funny.
Shorts in the UFC. Could you? The thing is, they're so anal about their sponsorship. They would have to have like a big Reebok logo on them.
Yeah, it would have to be like they'd need a Levi's co-sponsorship or something. It's like they have oh my God, what is it? God damn it, I just forgot what the Venom or whatever.
Yeah, Venom, yeah.
Venom and Levi's, the cross brand. I loved this match, Dylan. What did you think of it?
Yeah, this match completely ruled. So like you said, she came out to Killing in the Name, which this makes no sense for her.
And she flipped off the camera too, which was sick.
Yeah, but this doesn't fit her at all. But it was awesome, like nonetheless. So she comes out to Killing in the Name, flips off the camera and everybody. Like you said, trying to be a badass mom.
So, and what would you prefer as a fan? Like the WWE presentation or almost a Bizarro World presentation of the character?
No, absolutely not. I completely prefer this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it makes it much more special. That this is something different. This is like an alternative universe almost to what they're doing. Although they set up something for after. To be honest with you, they came out. So they started off like Natty did all that stuff. And they started off saying like, oh man, this is a different Natty than we've seen in WWE. Like she has something big to prove here. In reality, I think Miyu Yamashita was trying to get signed with this match. Like she knew people were watching this because I've seen a lot of her. I've seen a lot of her matches over the years, and I know about her whole career. The last couple of years of Miyu Yamashita has not been great. Her heart has not been in it. Here, her heart was in it, and it was great. Because she came out, firing up right away. Natty did this like really cool overpowering takedown at one point. Got the mount. Miyu fired back with that reverse crescent kick that she got. Kick to the back. She went for a big leg lock here. They did some really cool technical counters they had there as well. They ended up resetting and firing up some big strikes there. And Miyu fired up like this big slap that she hit Natty with, dropped her right away. It looked totally legit. It was awesome. The crowd popped for it. She went that into a guillotine choke. But Natty used her power game again. And finally, Yamashita hit the big reverse crescent kick, the skull kick version. But that didn't stop the match. They kept going. She went for the ankle lock. But Natty kicked her way out and ended up locking in the sharpshooter. And she didn't tap out, too. So they did protect her. Like here. So she didn't tap out. The ref stopped the match. The crowd was going crazy for this. By the end, she was like, "We love them both these women." Chants. Miyu got up, gave her the middle finger, and they started fighting again. Then Natty went to ringside, and Kenzie Page from the NWA was there. She brawled with Natty to set up their match because Natty's also working NWA next month. So this was awesome. Like all of this was like, I think the Aoki match was the better overall match, but this was like my favorite part of the show. Seeing Natty Neidhart come in, standing on business, brawling with everybody, having a great shoot style match. This freaking ruled. I love this match.
Totally agree. My only gripes with it, after everything we had seen in terms of like those instant finishes from Dempsey's suplex on Aoki to stuff, I was so surprised that the skull kick wasn't an instant finish because Natty seemed out I thought the ref waited too long to call that is total kayfabe, right? That's what it felt like to me. I was like, the ref should have called it then, but they let it go. And who am I to say? Maybe Natty still had some fight in her that I didn't see. But I would have liked the sharpshooter spot to have gone on longer before Miyu passed out. It just felt very sudden, even with the pass out. But yeah, like the transition into the sharpshooter looked really good, and I think that's what made it.
And that was tricky because that could have looked bad. They took a risk to do that on this scenario, but if you are an Alexander Otsuka fan, you will know you can make pro wrestling moves work in battle art style shows.
Yep.
And you tell me, did you not love the shoot style big swing? Come on.
Dude, it's amazing. And what was awesome is that was one of my first Otsuka matches. So I didn't realize that's where the giant swing started.
Yep.
Badass.
Exactly. Legit move. I mean, you try being spun around like that.
And then I read Claudio is actually bald because he wanted to be like Otsuka even more.
Well, we all wish that we could be like Atsuka, I would say. We all wish that, but I cannot get my hair. I cannot worship this man like that. I'm like, just like Karrion Kross with that hair he's got right now. He's not giving that up, and that doesn't make him less of a shooter. But this Miyu and Natty match was good. What did you think about all the stuff afterwards when they fought again?
I liked it. I mean, it's very in death matches, they always flip each other off after they never handshake. So I'm into that. Like sometimes that handshake shit can be lame. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you guys are fucking shooters. Let's get after each other still. And they did it here. This was the best presentation of Natty since she was farting with the Great Khali and Swoggle.
Okay, that we're gonna have to disagree on that. I would say.
Why?
I remember the farting gimmick, and I remember Swoggle. I remember Khali. I don't want to remember these things. No, why are you making us relive these moments?
Her best presentation since she was paired with Beth Phoenix.
That was pretty good. The Divas of Doom. They're there.
I think that, with WWE and NXT, I still think that NXT could use a shoot division and a hardcore division. I feel like you have enough time on the show, and that would just in terms of things that young people like, right? Like MMA and just Jeff Hardy jackass style shit, right? The Jeff Hardy style of wrestling will appeal to everyone no matter what. It transcends the ring in a way.
That's why they brought him back yet again.
Yeah. And I don't know. I keep ranting about this, but the thing when Atticus Kogar got put in the ID tournament, I was like, oh shit, dude, it's only a matter of time now till him, Tommy Vendetta, and Akira are in NXT. I'm just gaslighting myself into thinking that this hardcore division's gonna start.
If Atticus would shoot on someone, then maybe it would start. Like I want. We have to be the change we want to see. We can't wait for them to do it. No.
Imagine Tavion Heights getting skewered. That's a babyface moment that we will never forget. We'd be like, damn, man, he's got to come back.
I definitely think that I want to see more of Tavion Heights. I don't know if he wants to do that, however. I think this match, Natty and Miyu, was a little underrated on Cage Match 7.13. This is definitely,
8 out of 10.
Yeah, 8 out of 10 would be my rating on that for sure. Definitely a 4-star match. Legit great.
Do you rate matches on Cage Match? I have an account and I used to, but I don't keep up with it solely because I just don't have the energy to write always.
That's true, but yes, actually I do rate matches. I'm actually rating them as we go along this card as we speak right now.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
My ratings so far have been 9 for Dempsey and Aoki, 5 for Cross and Kratos, 6 for Dunn and Thatcher, and 8 for Natty and Miyu right now, as you can see on the show. So I stand on business. Just like Miyu.
Maybe I'll start doing the same thing.
You are more than welcome to. Everyone listening is very welcome to rate matches on here. Just don't be a troll and rate everything a 0 or something if it's in AEW or WWE. If you hate the companies, try to have good ratings. But yeah, so that was great. Do you think that this Natty indie run's gonna go anywhere with the NWA stuff?
I didn't know about the NWA stuff till now, so again, probably not. I don't care if it's Seth Rollins in NWA. You're not gonna get any kind of visibility on that fucking promotion. I like Kenzie Page a lot. She's awesome. I would never forget her as New South champion because the belt was 3 times the size of her. If you want a really good introduction to Kenzie Page, I highly recommend her matches against Billy Starks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Big Kinsey Page fan. I think she's a great prospect.
Does Natty
on the
have
Indies.
anything planned besides NWA?
No, not that I can see so far, but she is planned for the NWA show next month. So hopefully she can do like a run. Probably going to be for scouting purposes for WWE as well.
I mean,
to be fair,
here's the thing. Like, I would so much prefer it. And like, this is just my own thing, but like, I would love to see what she could do if she wasn't with WWE. Like, because then you can do Japan, which isn't to say like, I mean, WWE's changed.
Maybe she will.
Maybe do it now, but I would like to see her without any sort of corporate restriction.
Yeah, exactly. Like, try to have a real feud or something like that.
I think she could genuinely have a real late career renaissance a la a PCO on the indies.
Me too. And I mean, a lot of people respect her. People would not be afraid to work with her at all. Like indie people would jump at the chance to do that, or even people in Japan because of the family name. So definitely would love to see more of Natty on these indie shows. And I don't know. Like, I think Miyu really went all out here and impressed. Maybe they'll bring this back someday at a later Bloodsport edition. Going in there, I'm sure that they would be happy to do it with how well this came across. So up next, we had our boy Tavion Heights coming in here. Coming in, taking on Royce Isaacs, as you mentioned. He's a New Japan guy, New Japan Strong, longtime friend of Josh Barnett and partner. Dempsey came out with Heights here to, kind of continue that from earlier. In the end, they started off with kind of like a slow first minute or so. I thought they tried to kind of warm up to each other. But finally, they battled back and forth with suplexes and things of that nature. And then they went to a strike battle with these forearms. And I thought these looked really good, like between both men when they were doing the forearm strikes. I thought that was really good. Heights ended up hitting a big like lariat at one point. He did this like really cool suplex, like with like a captured style suplex, and like looked for this submission, like a head and arm choke at one point, but they ended up fighting out of it. Isaacs hit a power bomb, and that led to him hitting the mount, but they ended up going rolling to the floor, which was a memorable spot to the match. Once they got back into the ring, they strike battled some more with the forearms. Heights just ended up hitting this big suplex, and then he like banged his head into the mat, and the ref was like, "Stop the match!" So that was it here with Heights getting the win here. 8 minutes 37 seconds. I thought this was a hoot. I thought this was a good match here.
Yeah, Tavion Heights is a guy that I have appreciated since his run in the N1 Victory. He's just a really good wrestler, I would say.
Guy to watch.
Really, really good charisma. You know what he honestly reminds me of, and please goddamn don't make fun of me for this, but one, it's just primarily the hair, but like he has the charisma of a No Way Jose, but like he can actually back it up in the ring.
Yeah.
Like he's got that smile, he's got that beautiful hair, but he is a fucking wrestler, man. Like he's really good. I think that he's someone that you could honestly call up and maybe put in like a Alpha Academy with Otis. Like him and Otis could be a really good tag team.
I love that fashion. Him, Otis, and Tozawa.
Yeah.
The three shooters of wrestling. No, that would be awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Heights. I like the finish with the headbutt. Like, to be honest with you, I saw some people on the reviews. It doesn't have a full rating yet, but some people are complaining about the finish. I thought it was good. I mean, I don't know what you thought.
I'd go 3 stars on this one. Like I'm very into Tavion Heights. I would like to see him again. Like I said, my dream match is honestly Tavion Heights versus David Modzmanishvili. So if we can manifest that, Josh, if you are listening to this, Dylan and I appreciate you. We respect you. Please, sir, David Modzmanishvili, Tavion Heights, Osaka Joe Hall, please.
If they could do that, yes. But I love the idea of the match. Definitely bring Modzmanishvili back, please, in the future Bloodsports. And Tavion Heights, he deserves it as well. Love his charisma, love his game. Isaac's held his own here as well. I like this, that kind of like throw back into the ring from Heights 2. I thought that was cool. So this match had memorable spots, good finish, and was an overall fun match to watch. I would honestly go up to a 7 out of 10. Like the soft wreck here for this match, 3.5. So up next, we see Mia Yim walk out to introduce Shayna Baszler coming in here with her gear here, like her MMA gear here coming in. She's taking on Konami from Stardom. And I thought this was an interesting match because, like, Konami, like, she's really not been great. Like, the last year or two, she had that hiatus for a while. It feels like her heart might not be into wrestling as much anymore, but she's still here. Both of these two do have a, MMA background as well. Shayna has the Muay Thai. Konami, it was just a BJJ. So they came in here. They had a short-ish match. I don't think they did anything too wrong. They fired up with some kicks going on there. I did like how Shayna tried to run her into the ring post early on, to really emphasize her heel status, as an outsider. Even though Konami's also a heel in Stardom, but whatever. They came in. They turned it around with Konami using the ring post to get an advantage, but in the end, Shayna just ended up hitting the Fisherman Buster, and it started to kick at her head, and the ref stopped the match there. So bad night for Natsuko Tora here, being on the outside of company Konami. I thought this match was one of the lesser matches on the show, to be honest, but it wasn't bad either.
I don't get how Shayna is one of the weakest at the Bloodsport style.
I know.
It really does not compute to me. She's just so soft, it feels like, in her attacks. Her grappling isn't necessarily compelling. And it's weird because she's always booked as one of the biggest names on the show, and I really want to know why. Why, honestly, because I don't even think her match with Masha last year was exceptional, and if the better parts were typically because of Masha. I thought Natty sort of became the WWE women's star of Bloodsport this show.
Yeah.
This match could just not stand up to it. I think if you switch the matches on the card, that would actually feel way more appropriate.
I didn't like this finish either. I thought it was really weak. The Fisherman Buster, as soon as she started to kick her, the ref was like, it's over. It's it felt like if they were going to transition to another gear, they were about to hit that time, and instead they just ended it in 6 minutes. It's like, man, Konami down bad again with another short loss.
Yep.
But I agree with you. Shayna's another one. I mentioned this about Konami, but it's also true for her. If you look at her, I mean, they kind of took her off TV once they fired Daria. The year leading into that, pretty much, this was the first time I've seen her in wrestling gear in forever. She didn't even bother. She just wore pants and a tank top. It feels like her heart's not in it anymore. Maybe it's after Ronda left. Maybe that took her heart out of it a little bit. It's she's never really getting that big push she had when she first got called up, because they tried to make her the monster type of character. They gave her the Elimination Chamber where she eliminated everybody. It didn't really take that well. And I feel like they never really even touched her on that level again. She's very well respected as a shooter. I know that, and I know that Josh loves her a lot. But if you look at performance-wise, this was one of the weakest matches on the show, if not the weakest overall.
I'd go 2 stars on this one.
I think that sounds about right to me as well. Feel bad for Tora. Happy to be here for this. But, again, it wasn't terrible at all. I definitely think they had another gear they could have hit, however. So next up, Yeah, they did do like Shayna bowed to Konami as well. Like on there, like you said, I would have preferred them brawling again, like me you did. But especially for two heel characters, I would have wanted to see them like do some dirty, like having Tora throw something into the ring or something afterwards. Up next, we get Zack Sabre Jr., who is probably one of the bigger American draws on this show to the Bloodsport fan base, taking on Jonathan Gresham. A vintage Bloodsport match here. Gresham, formerly one of the top stars of the Indies, his profile's really gone down. I know he had the big falling out with the Ring of Honor and AEW, and he feels like almost a ghost on the indie scene in these days. But he came in here. I thought they did a really good start to this match with some really great grappling, some of the best stuff we've seen on the show in terms of fluidity. Zach got the edge early on. He ended up actually like twirling Jonathan out of the ring like back-to-back times. I thought that was a good build to the match. Gresham fired back and got Zach out of the ring. And then there was a funny part where Zach walked up and stood up to him to show that he was taller than him. He was a whole head taller than Gresham here, which is a regular making fun of Gresham commentary on Twitter about how short he is. So they come in, he throws some strikes, they do a dragon suplex. They try to do some grappling, but Zach gets out. I noticed here, this is a part where I really didn't like Jimmy Smith. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but for some reason he kept calling him Zack Sable Jr. on there, which is my cat was named Sable, so I respect the name, but it's not his name. However, why did he keep doing that? I don't know. Coming in there. The crowd was into this. The crowd started.
Sorry. I'm just picturing one of Brock Lesnar's kids named Zack Sable Lesnar now.
Maybe that could be in the future one day. Not there. We'll see if a Zack Sable comes into wrestling anytime soon. But the crowd was riling up. They were chanting, fight forever. And they ended up going to the time limit draw. They were like, no, we're going to do 5 more minutes. Yeah, easy pop spot, whatever. I thought it was kind of lame, but I get it as well. It's like super easy pop. Then they do this strike battle, which is where the match really fell off for me. The stuff we saw here with especially Gresham's chops was so weak. I was like, come on. This would be lame in a trainees match, let alone a Bloodsport match. I didn't like that strike battle at all. They had Zach ended up acting like he was hurt, and that led to him tripping him up, backing up, hitting the PK for the win. So KO finished with the PK.
Real a lot of this finish.
Yeah, he did it really well for sure. Much like the sharpshooter finish, that could have been something that looked lame and very pro wrestlery, but they worked it in a way to where it looked good. So there's a lot of good to this match. It's the highest rated match on Cage Match, 7.62. I really didn't like the finish at all in terms of restarting the match. And the strike battle that came afterwards, I don't know if they were tired or what, but it just looked awful. I thought it really took me out of this. But it was still good. I would recommend it. But I might be a little lower. I'm more like a 7 out of 10 level to me. I would have thought this would have been like an 8 or a 9 on paper.
I totally agree, and for the exact same reasons. It's actually very funny because you texted me about the shots.
We were watching this together.
That's how dissatisfied you were. Yeah. Whenever either of us are very dissatisfied about something, we immediately text the other, because if it's not egregious, we save it for the show, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was fucked up.
Come on.
The technical stuff I really appreciated. In the final moments, there's just a part where Sabre had his legs up, and you see Gresham just sort of just do this slight but perfectly calculated kick to the bottom of his thigh just to get Sabre to drop his left leg so he could take it. And so many little wrinkles like that I just really appreciated. And man, if it was just a technical match, if they structured this like the Aoki Dempsey match, this could have been match of the show. But yeah, it definitely fell apart in the striking because, again, immersion, and it was very immersion breaking.
Yeah.
So I'd go 3.5.
I totally agree. Here, I rated it 7 on my ratings to those that know. I dropped it down a little bit. Now it's 7.59 on here. I'm getting it closer. I'm getting Aoki's match closer, Aoki Dempsey, to being the match of the night with my ratings as we speak. So we go to the main event. The man himself, Bloodsport's head honcho, Josh Barnett, the babyface assassin, taking on Gabe Kidd from New Japan. And the big part of this match seemed to be not so much Kidd versus Barnett, but Kidd versus Kidd. There was this guy in the crowd that looked like a teenager, and he was like talking mad shit on Kidd, and Gabe like rushed to the outside to yell at him. And then there was a part in the middle of the match where he literally kind of promo during the match and grabbed the mic, and he was like, "Fuck them kids, especially that little kid over there, over there." So that was funny. No, that would have been after the match. He said that when he got on the mic. Now that I think about it, but yeah, he did
climbed up into like the audience in the stairwell.
Yeah, he had to go after this guy. So then Barnett, he could not let this disrespect of his fans stand, so he had to fight him on the outside. They brawled on the floor for a little while, and this is my problem. And I go back to that first match with Suzuki. This is why I didn't like that match. His explanation to me was totally legit, and I'm not going to doubt him at all. Like, he has so much of a great mind for wrestling and fighting than I'll ever have. I fully admit that, but I just wanted to see it stay in the ring, like with this kind of show. You know, unless you're going to do a spot like we saw in the other matches where somebody rolled out of the ring, I'm into that. That's cool. But going into the crowd and all of that and spending so much time with brawling style, that's not my personal preference. I'm not saying it's even bad, and they did good with what they were trying to do. It just wasn't my favorite and what I would have wanted. So I'm not really criticizing it, only stating a personal preference here.
Totally fair. And like what I appreciated in this was that it was different than anything else in the show.
That's true.
It felt like Gabe Kidd was actively trying to disrupt the flow of a Bloodsport match intentionally.
Yep. Good point.
So that Barnett could not get into that, calculated rhythm that he usually gets into with a Thatcher or a Biff or an MVP or someone else that's just going to meet him on his playing field, right? A lot of people that come into Bloodsport are going to try to do it Josh's style. Kidd completely refused in every way. And I thought that the spots that worked well. I think what kept this one down for me was there was a moment in the match, and I'm going to nitpick here just because this was the main event. This is Barnett. And it was when they were exchanging strikes. Kidd did 2 stiff open palm slaps. And right after that, you can see him communicate to Barnett, okay, now lay it into me, right? And it was right there in that moment, I was just like, God damn it. And that just kind of broke the whole thing for me because, it was that little immersion break right there. And that, to me, I'm all about the striking contests. And so when it sort of neutered that moment, I was like, God damn. And that's what kept it down for me as well. So I would go 3.5 on this one.
That's exactly my rating. I would give it a 7 out of 10. Which seems to be in line with the inmates.
Sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
We talked about this during our Hammerstein recap.
Yeah.
Barnett needs to lose. He lost here. He put over Gabe Kidd. Gabe Kidd had a great post-match promo, which I was very surprised by.
Yeah.
And like, it was a really nice moment between two warriors. Barnett had a nice closing promo, and it just worked so much better to see Barnett put someone over. He still gets to close the show and put over his own show with his fucking name on it.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what, you're still the king, dude. And I really appreciated that he took the step here to put over Gabe Kidd. WWE comes knocking for Gabe Kidd? And can Gabe Kidd work in a WWE?
I think that he thought that's a possibility going into this match. I mean, you're putting a main event spot on a show with heavy WWE influence. We know that people are watching backstage.
And he bragged too afterwards. He said, with his show with even WWE Town, he's like, the main event stars from New fucking Japan or whatever, right? So he definitely blasted New Japan still and tried to really place them above everyone else, which is very on brand for him. But I guess I say, like, so much of the Gabe Kidd aura for me is his brashness and the fact that he just says the most foul shit.
Yeah, yeah. And that wouldn't work in WWE at all, really.
Exactly, unless he's on Raw Netflix, right? TV mature.
That's true. They're really taking a step up there. What if Gabe Kidd, his moment was he was Cody's friend, and he beat the shit out of Travis Scott in revenge?
Dude, Gabe Kidd versus Travis Scott would be so sick.
That's my fantasy booking for Kidd in WWE.
Down.
On his promo, he's like, I've lost it. I've lost my mind. I'm going to UFC on there. And Barnett was like, no, don't do that. He's like, let's take it one step at a time, kid. But no, so maybe a UFC run is in his run. We will definitely cover that on Wrestle Update, not just Easter Lariat. If Kid has a UFC match in the future, I will say that. But yeah, like his aura is his main strength in a lot of ways, and like his wrestling is very good. Don't get me wrong. I've always loved him as a wrestler, and like that's always the thing with him. I always struggle with him a lot because a lot of times I find him kind of like in New Japan, the character is great. My problem with him is that this stuff during the match, like the promos he cuts during the match.
You're not a fan of the antics.
No, like I just want you to wrestle. I'm a fan of the antics outside of the match. Like if it's after the match and you go crazy, like I'm cool with that. I remember the match he had against Kaito and Noah, where he like attacked the ring announcer for no reason. And to me, there was a great comment. I wish I could remember who said this. I believe it was his match with Shingo, which I thought was overrated at the time, but a lot of people loved it. And he was basically saying like, this is how I always feel about Kid and what I always go back to. You can't be a madman while simultaneously telling me you're a madman every 5 seconds. Like, okay, we get it. You're crazy. Like, that's cool. I get it. You've told us 10 times in this match that we just saw that you're nuts. And I get it. I just wish if he could do that, like, save it for after and before the match. I'm into that. Because I thought his promo was great. Like, after the show, after the match, it was great. The match was good. Like you said, it tried to do something a little bit different. As I said, it's not my preferred style. I'm not criticizing it, only pointing out my personal preference that I would have rather it have been a straight up match. But your point was also fair that it was something different from the rest of the show. I thought it was a worthy main event and agree with you about Barnett putting over Kidd. Gabe Kidd is one of the hottest names right now going. Coming off his match with Omega in January. Is very popular with foreigners, especially. We'll see what his future holds because I think with any foreigner in New Japan, if they reach a certain level, the American companies are going to be calling, and money might end up ensuring that forces their hand, kind of. Whether it's an AEW or WWE, he in particular, like you said, his character, like they would have to really change their thinking in terms of how they present things for his character to even come close to working. And the fear is it would be something really watered down. So I think as a wrestler, he could definitely succeed. I think the character would have to undergo some major tweaking, or they would have to at least back off a little bit and give him free reign.
He's going to be like, I'm freaking crazy, bro. And I think you're so full of poo.
Yeah, this is doo-doo right now. I have said that before. I've called matches donkey doo-doo in the past.
My favorite thing, and that's Bloodsport pretty much. So let's hop into the main event of Butterbean, Minoru Suzuki, so I can deal out my boo-boo doo-doo rating of the week.
Yes, absolutely. Overall, Bloodsport, great show. I will say
this was one of the better Bloodsports. I liked it more than the one in November. I think that this is probably a top 5 Bloodsport for me. There was nothing that was offensively bad. Yeah, Shayna Konami was great, but it was nothing egregious. And I think that, the top 4 matches for me being your Aoki, Natty, Sabre, Barnett, that's a really good collection of stuff right there.
Yeah, I gave a recommendation to 4 matches on this show. The main, Zach Gresham, Natty and Miyu, and Dempsey and Aoki. And Dempsey and Aoki and Natty and Miyu are both great matches, like highly recommended. I think that they deserve credit for making this work. And I think a lot of people that were, coming into this down on the show for whatever reason, I think that now you look at a show like this and at what they put out, this delivered. You cannot deny the quality of the show, in my opinion. It's definitely one of the best of the weekend. It's the best of the weekend. It's not one of. And I think that they deserve a lot of credit for it. So Barnett, will not doubt you again, brother, on this one. It really worked. Whatever you want to say about the WWE involvement, that does not reflect the quality of the show. So, Butterbean and Suzuki. I just want to say one thing on this before you start. I was going to watch this show, like this full show, and you warned me against it, and you did the good thing and what a real friend would do. This show has gotten so much negative feedback. It's got a 4.71 rating on Cage Match right now, and the Mickie James and Maki Ito and Butterbean and Suzuki match, 1.07 and 1.13. According to the inmates, Mickie and Maki is worse than Butterbean and Suzuki, which is one of the worst matches I've ever seen.
Okay, and I actually totally agree. Here's the thing.
Unbelievable.
Butterbean, by all accounts, is not supposed to be able to walk again. He came out here. He tried his darndest, man. It just wasn't good. They did a chopping exchange, and I was just like, holy fuck. Butterbean pulled every punch. Maybe he did. Maybe he just can't punch. But then you end it in a double count out. And it's like one of those things where it's like, these are supposed to be killers. It's like Hell in a Cell. Like, how can this end in a DQ, right? Like, no, what the fuck? Like, this is just a not so super show. This was the worst show of the week so far. There was really nothing that I liked on it. Even the 10, so just to go through it real quick, opens up with a mystery 10-man tag. It's just all luchas. And it wasn't a great lucha spot fest, After that, they follow up the lucha match with Ninja Mac versus Mascara Dorada. So you just saw a 16-minute lucha spot fest, and they're going to follow that up with a lucha spot fest. After that, what are they going to follow it up with? Oh, a scramble. Let's do another spot fest. Dude, at this point, I was so fucking fatigued from this style of match and this style of wrestling. Then they bring on Matt Riddle for whatever reason in 2025. What? Yes, Matt Riddle versus a recently rebranded Matt Mikowski, who now goes by Matt Mako. Like if this was 2020, 2019, 2018, maybe this would have been an interesting match in a Beyond Wrestling Uncharted episode. But yeah, this was nothing. Mickie James and Maki Ito. After 5 minutes, Mickie James is so fucking gassed that she takes the microphone and just starts shooting on Dave Meltzer and talks about how wrestling isn't about in-ring quality and not everyone needs a 5-star match and how she's an entertainer. So then she hands Maki the microphone and asks her to sing. Maki's like out of breath from wrestling, so she's trying to sing a cappella, no backing track. She gives it back to Mickie. Mickie hits her with the microphone, and it just like kind of goes into the finish. It was so dog shit. Here's the thing. Butterbean tried. Mickie James did not. This was a terrible, embarrassing performance by Mickie James, and absolutely none of the blame is on Maki Ito. Like, Mickie James just looked like shit, wrestled like shit, offered Maki nothing, put her in multiple compromising and embarrassing spots. Like, this was a catastrophic failure. And if this is Mickie James's last match, congratulations. You ended it with a big stain. Butterbean versus Minoru Suzuki ends in a double count out. Bullshit. Crowd is not hyped. They're all chanting, let them fight, let them fight. Dan Severn goes in the ring with Suzuki. Suzuki's saying, I'll keep fighting. He's saying, come in the ring. Butterbean's saying, come out of the ring. I think it's because Butterbean literally cannot get back into the ring at this point. I think that him going in once and then going out again, I think that was his limit of mobility. And so they bring back in the ring announcer. Suzuki talks to Severn. Severn talks to the ring announcer. You think, oh, okay, they're about to restart the match. Totally cool. No. The ring announcer just announces again that Dan Severn has ruled this a double countout. Everyone's fucking booing. No one's having a good time. And then for whatever reason, they do a fucking trios match with TMDK versus Flip Gordon, Hechicero, and Michael Oku in the main event. Just random. like if this was in the middle of the show, sure, this could have been cool, but this did not feel like a main event. Butterbean versus Suzuki definitely felt like the main event going into this show. And I don't think anyone expected it to be something great, but they expected it to be something entertaining, something perverse. And it was just none of the above. It was just a really sad exhibition. But I'm happy that Butterbean is walking and that he seems to be healthier, even if it wasn't necessarily clear here. But yeah, the March Hitchcock Super Show, I would honestly, Dylan, I would give this show a 1.
I'm glad I didn't watch it from your review of it. I did watch the Butterbean match. It was because you described it. Your text to me after watching it was Heroes of Wrestling level bad, which means I had to watch it.
And here's the thing. This was the first time I've ever watched the Mark Hitchcock show. Every year I've always wanted to watch, but it's always on High Spots, and I'm not going to sign up for High Spots. Let's be real. High Spots, if you want us to watch, send us a fucking code, okay? No, I'm just sorry. That was too much. But like, this show used to be so sick every year. It was like the alternative to spring break in terms of just a really wild match card, so much different talent, like you're going to have a Mike, like, I think it was on this one you had like, it was like Mike Bailey versus like fucking Hiroshi Tanahashi or something one year, like just really crazy matchups. And this was like not only tone deaf in the booking of like a Flip Gordon and Matt Riddle in 2025 in America, but it just had really bad, like 2 of all-time stinker matches. And like these could win all-time worst match any year, but the fact that they happened on the same show back to back, like it was just fucking draining. And like, I don't know, I was really disappointed with this. And I watched this before Bloodsport, so Bloodsport, really brought back the energy. So again, shouts out Josh.
I will say Flip is at least over in Mexico, so he gets to go back there and be a star there. Everyone else, I don't know. I'd probably be like questioning my life if I wrestled on this show, to be honest with you. I just think the person putting this show together at one point was clearly, somebody really in the loop and in the know in wrestling and, knew what he was doing. And I think this is the year where we finally saw that just collapse. Like, because just putting this show together, you should have known it would turn out like this. But for some reason, it was allowed to happen. But at least, like, those 2 matches will go down in infamy, at least. I will say this, that they just some of the ratings were not kind to the Mickey and Maki match for sure. I mean, it's a 1.07. It was all bad. Somebody on there said that Mickey was day drinking on here. A lot of these guys don't like Meltzer's rating system anyway, by the way. But just doing a promo in a match to cut a promo on Meltzer is just like goofy.
Hey, I hate this guy so much that I'm going to stop my match and give him a platform.
Yeah. I want to shout out a cage match user here, and it made their review. Shane Spears said, a well-done portrayal of a terminally online ex-user crashing out about dirt sheets on a Thursday evening.
That is amazing. Shane with the review of the week. We should do a review of the week. Damn, that's a good idea.
Absolutely. That's definitely going to be on the agenda, especially for these shows. That gives us a lot of bullcrap that we can make fun of. Let's go to Butterbean and Suzuki. I got another review here for you. From Sandman705. There is no multiverse anywhere in the stratosphere that can justify presenting this crap on a wrestling card, period, let alone on a WrestleMania weekend. Suzuki looks pissed. I don't know why he took this match. Butterbean should not, under any circumstances, be doing anything like this in 2025. He looks ready to die. It's so sad.
Oh my God.
Just an awful bad idea that never should have happened.
Suzuki really tried to engage him a lot too, like in those chop contests, and it was just like he could not get anything in response. And I think that you could tell he was getting frustrated with like having to sell the other shit because it just looked so damning.
What about the rounds?
Oh my God! And the fact that they started the rounds and they were still like not even fighting, and then they had to restart. It was such a fucking mess. It was such a mess.
And on top of it, go back, look at the rounds. The first round was 3 minutes.
The second's two, right?
Two. Yeah, exactly. Like, what the fuck? Like, who was there any quality control on this show? I feel like monkeys were running this shit, man. Like no human being would be this stupid to fuck up this bad. At the end of the day, what is going on with this show? Because like you said, the WrestleCon SuperShow was one of the premier events for years. And like I said, it just feels like maybe people just don't care anymore that are running it. They see the indie scene as it is now, and they've just like decided to totally throw in the towel. Even the luchadors. Now, listen, the guys they had in the opener, I was pretty excited about that match. There's some guys that are really good. Latigo is one of my favorites. Conus Lupus is great. Ares is great. Toxin's great. Spiderfly is really good. But then you get to these other half of the guys, and it's like the indiest of indie guys like on here. And then Gravity's in there for some reason. You had Cheeseburger on the show. Like, what the fuck is this show, man?
Dude,
like,
Danhausen winning the scramble. Like, it just felt like they were laughing at me.
That's what I'm saying. This show felt like and that's what I wouldn't be surprised if somebody who put this together hates how the indie scene has gone down and put this show as a personal vendetta against the fans. Like, to show that this show sucks. We don't care anymore, and we're going to laugh at you for paying to watch this garbage that we put together. All in all, though, I do have to say I did watch the Butterbean and Suzuki match. Dear God. What a match. What a match this was. How could you put this together and think it's a good idea? I don't know. I really have no idea at the end of the day. But there's nothing that can really be said about it. I thought the review summed it up pretty well. The crowd booed it all at the end. They did say at the end too, where the commentary was like, he's in a fight for his life right now. Talking about Butterbean. Even the commentators were worried this man, like, something terrible could happen on the show, and thank God it didn't. But I mean, this will go down in infamy. I think this show is one of the worst of all time, I think. Anything else you watched on WrestleMania weekend so far?
I watched Defy. The only thing from there I'd mentioned was Mance versus Kenta. I gave that 3 stars if you're really into it. God, what else? Let me open up my ratings sheet actually real quick. Give me 1 second.
Set the record straight.
Give me 1 second, chat. I watched Stardom, Micah versus Thekla. I thought was good. 3.5 stars. Did not really care for DG USA, the Rebirth. We talked about that. I liked
you watched the show?
Yes, I liked Casey versus Marcus Mathers. I told you, Reese Maddox. I watched it.
Yeah. I just thought you were clowning.
Anytime there's a 6-man Dragon Gate main event in like a show here in the US, I literally expect it to be as good as that Blood Generation Do Fixer match from Ring of Honor.
This wasn't.
It was not.
It wasn't even close to that.
DG USA also really, really, I would say that was probably the second worst show of the week so far. I have TJPW on. This has probably been the best show of the week. I've been watching it since we've been doing this show as well. Just from what I've caught, this looks like the best show so far this week. Main events Mitsuki versus Miyu Yamashita. Miyu Watanabe versus Masha just had a fucking banger. I'd probably go 4 stars on that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, definitely check out the Tokyo Joshi show. Later today we got DDT. We've got oh my God, what is it? Joey Janela's Spring Break. At midnight there is Heels Have Eyes for the Culture.
Yep.
God, and then tomorrow morning Stand and Deliver. So our plan is to be back with some Spring Break and Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to do our best to cover as much as we can of this weekend. I do want to specifically point out the Rebirth. That was by far my most anticipated show of the weekend going into this, because DG USA was really instrumental for me getting into Japanese wrestling and changing my life in a lot of ways. So I have a lot of And I mean, DG USA, especially in the last few years, was not that great. And I would be the first to admit that it wasn't where it was by the end. But, I remember watching Fearless, 2010, and like seeing BB Hulk and Dragon Kid in there. They had a crazy multi-man match on that show coming in there. They did a lot of great things around that time. But there was so much that you could do. One of the first things I said, and I mentioned to you, I think if I could have changed one thing in hindsight, because there were some talk about the roster coming over, the people they brought in from DG. The person I would have brought over is not a wrestler. It would have been Lenny Leonard. I think he was so vital to the commentary, and he wanted to be on this. I saw him on Twitter. He said that it's so weird seeing like a DG USA show without his voice on it. And I know he felt that was like his show in a lot of ways. I don't know. And it's nothing against these two, by the way, Rich Bocchini and Joe Dombrowski. I know for a fact Joe is a true fan of wrestling. He just did not have the DG knowledge to be at the level of a Lenny Leonard. And maybe he'll get there one day if they continue doing these shows. First of all, I thought the venue looked great. They made it look good. The production values was really good, but there was a ton of spots in the commentary where they got names wrong and things like that. They didn't really know what they were watching, and I think that kind of Lenny would have done it in a way where it made it work. They really didn't have any callbacks to the old DG USA. They didn't even have the title, like the Freedom, Open the Freedom Gate title. Like that would have been one of the things I would have changed for sure. I'd have had BB Hulk on with the old title and announcing a tournament or something for it. Like, just give us something to make this feel like a real rebirth. As it was, this was basically a house show. To be honest with you.
You could have put any name on this. Like, I remember last year there was the ETU, Expect the Unexpected, or whatever, with Dragon Gate show, and that was actually better than this. But that's to say that you could have put any promotion name on this, and it would have felt like the same show. There's nothing about this show other than Dragon Gate talent that would have made this seem like a DG USA show.
And I get that there are financial constraints. I'm not hating on them for that, but give us something, to show that you care about the lineage of this company that you're rebirthing now, bringing back 10 years later. They didn't try at all, in my opinion. The opener was good. KZ and Mathers. KZ on his big WWE ID run of opponents for WrestleMania weekend. Definitely a huge prospect. KZ at 38, like I said, feels like he's right in their zone in his prime for WWE. But that was a good match. That was the best match on the show, in my opinion. The second match was the semi-main event where you had Price and Jimmy Lloyd, Swan and Mac, and Ben K and Hyo. I thought they did a good job for that. It was cool to see Swan back at OG of DG USA. He was kind of like the one connection, really. I guess the Paradox team as well were all former DG USA people. I remember Yamato and Susumu's match for the title that they had in DG USA was another fantastic match. Z-Brat's team got over with their shtick, especially Ishin feels like he's really getting over with the fans. That's cool. But as a show, I really, really expected more. I had to say, the Stardom show, I didn't expect more. When I saw this card, I was like, okay, this is a house show, and it turned out to be pretty much a house show. Like you said, Micah and Tekla was a good match. That was the one match I think was good. Overall, I think that they tried to mix in some indie talent and stuff like that. We got to see Maserati in there, Erica, Kelsey Heather on the show, Calientita, Viperous, like a lot of unknown people getting a spotlight for the first time. Some did okay, some looked pretty bad, to be honest. But overall, the main event was really the only thing of note on that show, and that was at least blowing off a feud. But a lot of these DG USA and Stardom also has a follow-up show coming, so I might try to find some time to check that out. But especially the Stardom show is basically worthless on paper. We'll see what they do with it. But overall, Bloodsport was by far the highlight of the weekend so far. the best show. I will check out that TJP show because that was the one company on paper that actually tried, that came over from Japan. And like that tried to be something special. One more thing I saw that I will point out, I actually sent it to you right before the show started here. The Marvelous show featured to me what may be, if it wasn't Aoki and Dempsey is the best match of the weekend, this was the best match of the weekend. And you might even argue this was even better. Aja Kong versus Senka Akatsuki. This match was a phenomenal, like, heavily underdog rookie versus like badass monster match. Like one of the best I can remember. There was so much heart and soul in this that Senka put in that other rookies just have not been able to match for whatever reason. They did an absolutely amazing job in this match. I cannot recommend it enough. I would have it at 4.5 stars for a 5-minute match. This was a great, great match here. Check that out. And also the Nyla Rose and Sora IMA match was very good as well afterwards. IMA and Akatsuki are going to be something in this business both. And I highly recommend those matches from the Marvelous show from the 17th. So yeah, as you said, we'll be back very soon for everybody out there. But I'm glad we were able to make some time to come on with this. Thank you so much, Nello, for joining me.
Hell yeah.
Have any parting words for the people out there?
Check out Spring Break. Check out For the Culture. Check out Marvelous. Check out the show so you can listen along and have fun with us. You know, it's our week, wrestling fans. Let's have some fun. I'm going to check out Marvelous after this Tokyo Joshi show. I was honestly heartbroken last night because I opened Triller at 10:55 p.m. to pop on the Marvelous show, and it's not there. It's on High Spots. And as I've said, High Spots, you got to send us that fucking code, dude. So I did not get to watch it live. And did you check out anything from Progress, by the way? I heard Michael Oku versus Luke Jacobs was good. I'm going to try to check that out.
I'll give it a watch. I haven't seen anything yet, but I'll try and catch up on that as well. Luke Jacobs is one of the best European.
Lucas Jacobs?
Sure.
I don't know which one it is. I'll know by tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Luke Jacobs. He's one of the best that they have, to be honest. I clown on Britt Rez a lot, but he's pretty good. Like, he's a good wrestler. But yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Such a great weekend for all the fans out there. Keep watching the shows. Keep having fun. Let us know what you think of Bloodsport or anything else you saw on the weekend. You got a whole weekend's worth of shows. So many matches. Pick and choose. Do what you want to do. Just have fun. Be safe out there. And most importantly, know that no matter what happens, you know I love you. And until next time, this has been your Wrestle Update.